The wind howled through Moscow's Red Square on March 14, 2025, rattling the Kremlin's ancient spires as Vladimir Putin stood alone in his private study, a chessboard before him. But tonight, the pieces were still. At 72, the Russian president was a master of control, his iron grip on power honed over decades, yet his steely eyes betrayed a flicker of unease. Yesterday, he'd donned military fatigues in Chechnya, projecting victory to the world. Today, he'd kept U.S. envoy Stephen Witkoff waiting while he toasted Belarusian ally Alexander Lukashenko, a deliberate jab. Now, a cryptic fax lay on his desk, its edges curling, sent from an untraceable line. The dove flies at midnight. Bring the cards, or lose the pot. Putin's lips twitched. A poker game, not chess, was afoot, and Donald Trump, freshly re-inaugurated, had dealt the first hand. As the clock struck 11 p.m., Putin grabbed his coat. Someone was calling his bluff, and by dawn, he'd either hold all the cards or watch his empire fold in a deadly gamble that stretched from Kiev to Washington. Putin's life was a saga of calculated moves. Born in Leningrad in 1952, he'd risen from KGB shadows to Russia's throne, annexing Crimea in 2014 and igniting war in Ukraine in 2022. His vision, a neo-imperial Russia, clashed with the West's, and now, 3 years into the conflict, the stakes were sky-high. Trump's peace plan, brokered through back channels, dangled a ceasefire, but Putin's conditions were non-negotiable. Ukraine must cede Luhansk, Donetsk, Zaporizhzhia, and Kherson, 4 regions his troops clung to with blood and steel, plus abandon NATO dreams. European papers screamed he held the upper hand, a poker player with aces up his sleeve, but Putin knew better. Trump wasn't bluffing alone. Volodymyr Zelensky, Ukraine's defiant leader, had rejected the terms outright, vowing to fight on. And that fax, its tone too personal, too knowing, hinted at a wild card neither leader had seen coming. Putin descended a hidden stairwell beneath the Kremlin, his boots echoing on cold stone. The fax's dove was Trump's nickname in Moscow circles, a jab at his peace rhetoric, and midnight meant now. He emerged into a vaulted chamber, lit by a single bulb, where a round table waited. 3 chairs occupied. Trump lounged in one, his red tie askew, a grin splitting his tanned face. "Vlad, you're late. Thought you'd fold before the flop." Beside him sat Zelensky, 47, his green hoodie swapped for a suit, his jaw set, eyes burning. "This isn't a game," he snapped. "You're carving up my country." The third figure was a shock, an older man, silver-haired in a pinstripe suit, his accent British. "Gentlemen," he said, voice smooth as gin, "I'm Keir Starmer. Shall we deal?" Putin froze. The UK's Prime Minister, fresh off NHS reforms here? Starmer slid a deck across the table. "Not my usual table, but the stakes suit me. Winner takes the war's end, on their terms." Putin's mind raced. Starmer wasn't in the news, wasn't briefed. "Who sent you?" he growled, sitting. Starmer smirked. "A friend. Said you'd like a real challenge." Trump chuckled, shuffling the cards. "Texas Hold'em, Vlad. Your style. I've got the dove. You bring the bear?" Zelensky slammed a fist. "And I've got 40 million lives. Deal." The first hand was tense. Putin bet big. 2 pairs, Luhansk and Donetsk on the table, his face a mask. Trump matched with a flush, grinning. "Peace, Vlad. 30 days, no strings. Take it." Zelensky folded, glaring. "He wants my blood, not peace." Starmer raised his straight calm. "Neutral zone, NATO out, Europe funds rebuilding. Fair?" Putin's eyes narrowed. Starmer knew too much. Someone had leaked his playbook. The fax burned in his pocket as he won the pot, but the game felt off. Round 2 upped the ante. Trump tossed in a wild proposal. Ukraine cedes land, Russia lifts sanctions, U.S. gets resource rights. Win-win, folks, Putin countered with a full house, 4 regions plus Crimea, permanent control. My terms, or war, drags on. Zelensky's flush was desperate. Kiev holds, NATO deploys peacekeepers. No surrender. Starmer's royal flush stunned them. Ceasefire, UN vote on borders. Russia pays reparations. Putin laughed coldly. You're dreaming, Brit. But Starmer's calm unnerved him. Who was the friend? Between hands, Putin stepped to a corner phone, dialing Lukashenko. Check Witkoff's trail, he hissed. Someone's feeding them. Lukashenko's voice crackled. Nothing yet. Witkoff's clean. Watch the Brit Putin hung up, eyes on Starmer, who sipped water like a man with aces hidden. The third hand loomed. Blinds doubled, stakes lethal. Trump bet first, a straight flush of bravado. Crimea's yours, Vlad, but freeze the line. Deal? Zelensky's 3 kings roared back. No inch given, fights on. Starmer's pair was modest. Talks extend, sanctions tighten. But his gaze locked on Putin, daring him. Putin's hand was a monster. 4 aces, his region secured, Ukraine broken. All in, he said, voice ice. Trump folded, muttering, Too rich for me. Zelensky matched, his last chip's defiance. You'll bury us first. Starmer raised, impossibly. 5 aces, a cheat's hand. Game's rigged, he said, sliding a dossier across. Your mole, Vladimir, found him. Putin snatched it. Photos, transcripts, a Russian general, codename Dove, feeding Starmer via a dead drop in Minsk. Betrayal stung. His own ranks had cracked. The room spun. You staged this, Putin snarled. Starmer nodded. A test. You're strong, but not invincible. Dove's singing. Your troop plans, bunker maps, all ours. Fold now, or we play public. Trump whistled. Hell of a bluff, Kier. Zelensky stood, fists clenched. End it, Putin, or I'll show the world your hand. Putin's mind churned. War's cost, 300,000 dead, sanctions biting. The fax was Dove's taunt, a trap sprung. He shoved his chips back. Ceasefire 60 days, borders hold, no NATO, negotiate from there. Starmer pocketed the dossier. Wise move. Dawn broke over Moscow, the Kremlin silent. Putin sat alone again, the chessboard untouched, the fax ash in a tray. Trump jetted back to D.C., touting peace on Truth Social. Biggest deal ever, Vlad blinked. Zelensky addressed Ukraine, weary but firm. We stand, still ours. Starmer flew to London, briefing M-Wing 6. The Dove was real, a defector turned asset, his intel gold. European papers buzzed. Liberation, Putin's poker face slips. Le soir, Starmer steals the pot. Putin stared out, the game lost, but not the war. Dove's leak had cost him leverage, but he'd rebuild. Always did. One bluff reshaped the board. This tale proves that wits outplay the mighty. If this high-stakes showdown hooked you, drop a like to call it. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications for more stories that deal the truth. What would you wager to turn the game? Share your play in the comments below. We're all at the table. Until next time, keep this close. Even kings fold under the right hand.